Welcome to the flagship studio at the 2024 JP Morgan Healthcare Conference. I'm joined by CEO of Cynata Therapeutics, Volker Herrmann. Volker, thanks for joining us again this year.
Hi, Joe. It's great being here.
So Cynata is developing network medicines. This is a new term, a new class of medicines. Can you tell us what these are?
Yeah, so as you know, we are very excited about network medicines. I mean, we all know that, multicellular networks are very powerful in driving initiating diseases, mostly complex diseases, and progression of those. But here at Cynata, we also think they are very well positioned to actually allow us to design much more impactful medicines. So let me bring that to life for you. So think about cancer. Cancer cells are very good in controlling a multicellular network, right? They're very good in shutting down the immune system. They increase blood flow to the tumor. They build fibrotic walls, all to protect and make them happy. So if that's true, we think it would make really good sense to create drugs that actually also address all of the players in that multicellular networks at the same time, rather than just targeting one. So that's what a network medicine does. It basically finds a target that then actually releases a lot of signals, bringing together all of the necessary players in that multicellular network to work together to drive much more strong impact.
So it sounds like network medicines have a unique benefit and unique benefits for the development of for the treatment of multifactorial diseases. You mentioned cancer, fibrosis, is that right?
Yep. So cancer would be a great example. Fibrosis, we think autoimmune diseases, many others as well. And yes, fundamentally, again, we think if a therapeutic could have two effects, right? And that's what we aim to do with our network medicines. One is a direct target cell effect. So if this was cancer, basically, yes, we too like to kill cancer cells. But we like to do it in a way that then forces the cancer cell to actually release signals that invokes all of the other players at the same time. The same is true for fibrosis, right? Where again, we target a fibroblast, but rather than just having them stop making collagen, we again force them to release signals that engage the multicellular network as well. And that's actually a really cool finding altogether, right? As we looked and as we better understood multicellular networks, it became clear to us that no other cell is better positioned to be actually the target cell, to become the coordinator of cure than the diseased cell itself. So in cancer, we force cancer cells to become the coordinator of cure, or as we like to say slightly shortly, cancer curing cancer.
Cancer curing cancer, wow. So it's my understanding that you have a strong and powerful platform to be able to develop these network medicines. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's something we're incredibly proud about because it's a platform that allows us to really fundamentally change the way we discover drugs, right? I mean, traditionally, as you know, we often start with a target or a phenotype that we actually try to change or create. We do the opposite, almost the exact opposite way around, right? So we start with an indication because we think context matters. And then we analyze that network, the underlying disease network at length to understand what's going wrong. But more importantly, then we try to understand what target in that network would we need to hit to drive the release of signals that invoke all the necessary players to come together and play and do that. And that's what the platform does, right? So fundamentally, we kind of reprogram a broad range of different cell types in there, ended up finding that the disease cell type is the best type to do that. And using our proprietary genetic tools and machine learning algorithms, then really kind of perturb that system until we find a target that drives the exact biology we think we need to drive real strong impact. And then, and only then, do we design a drug that will mimic that very biology. So a completely different approach away from this reductionist trial and error to a really engineerable, programmable design process yielding really superior efficacy for our medicines.
And 2023 was an exciting year for Cynata in the development of the platform and the development of network medicines. Especially in oncology, you had presentations at SITC this past year. Can you tell us more about that data and what you're showing?
Yeah, so SITC was really a fantastic opportunity for us to share some of our lead program data. Two programs we discussed. One was our small molecule lead program, SNT101. That's a really cool novel target and a great example of a network medicine in a new kind of cell death pathway called ferroptosis. We're excited about that because ferroptosis turns out to be a cell death pathway where certain cancer types show a very high level of vulnerability. So sarcoma being a great example, and we actually have great data in sarcoma. That excites us tremendously because that, as you know, Joe, is an area where we have not seen any new mode of actions for a long, long time. And so key opinion leaders and folks we've been talking to were very excited about this one, as we are. The second program we talked about was our mRNA lead program, SNT-3012, which we are very excited about. That kind of target shows incredibly strong efficacy across a broad range of different tumors, cold and warm. Now, the warm, many people get good results. Cold tumors, as you know, much harder. And again, compound sounds very strong efficacy. And it's a stellar example of what we mean when we talk about the network medicine. So, it very effectively kills cancer cells once it's released into the tumor environment, releasing a broad range of neoantigens, which obviously are important to engage the immune system, but at the same time, as I explained earlier, forces these cancer cells to release a broad set of signals, driving a very strong immune activation, basically then driving really strong efficacy in all of these different models. So very exciting program.
Very exciting. And as a physician by training, Volker, I know that you are particularly patient-focused and always have been through your career. And you're building Cynata to be externally facing with patients in mind, but also other audiences in mind, right? Healthcare systems, academics. How are you doing this at Cynata, and what's the benefit of that?
Yeah, I think in any biotech, I think there's a long period, and certainly here at Flagship, where you kind of hone down and you really do your science and you try to understand the best you can where you are. But where we are now, I think it's really important that we actually do a lot of competitive intelligence. So we have a pretty active competitive intelligence department in many different regards. One is really who else is kind of following down the path we're going, right? We think network medicines, our approach of designing drugs, is the future of drug discovery. And we are very pleased to see that we see more and more folks in academia, also some other companies trying to follow, at least use some of the same language. There's more and more understanding agreement that this is the way to go, which is great endorsement and, provides potential opportunity for partnership. I think it's also important, as I said, we are very active in partnering with Big Pharma, but we're also very active in partnering with academia. Academia provides opportunities to us in many areas that we just don't have. We just signed a really, really important partnership deal with a center in Lisbon, Portugal, called Champalimaud, one of the leading cancer research centers in the world. And they have unique capabilities of really kind of allowing us to use our drugs in fresh slices from cancer patients, literally minutes after the cancer is removed and resected. They allow us to actually know in thick slices of the tumor to really see what does our drug do in human kind of tissue versus mouse, which, as you know, very important for translation. So very excited about that aspect, and another partnership with Stanford, so that's really important. But thirdly, as you said, I think it's also important for us to stay very close to patients. I think we do a lot of work with patient organizations. We invite patients to come, and we want to do more so even in 2024 to talk to us, because to me it is important to remind ourselves every day that that is what we're doing, and to remind ourselves what should be driving our sense of urgency in bringing those drugs to patients as quickly as possible.
Love it. And so you already mentioned some exciting things to look forward to come out of your partnerships next year. What else in this next year can we look to see from Cynata?
Yeah. 2024, I think, is a year where our platforms in cancer and fibrosis will really actually yield a very broad range of novel targets and therapeutics. We're super excited about that. In cancer, we are currently very focused on lung cancer and head and neck cancer. But the platform by now has reached a status where we can literally start in the new indication, and within 3 to 4 months, we can identify the first set of novel targets, which is actually incredibly cool and incredibly fast at this point. Fibrosis, we spent a lot of time in 23 starting to build out that platform, is now in a position to yield, I think, some very cool novel targets for NASH, for IPF, lung fibrosis, and many other areas as well. And we've seen an enormous amount of excitement here at JPM. Fibrosis is a very hot topic, is I think becoming hotter and hotter. And I think our idea of finding novel targets there resonates really well with us and potential partners. Partnering, you said, it is key for us in 2024. With the pipeline growing very fast, with our ability to create that new class of medicines. We've seen great interest from Big Pharma partners to engage in discussions across cancer and fibrosis, and that certainly is an objective for us to be able to accelerate and really bring these and some of our lead programs to patients as fast as possible. And then thirdly, I think, as always, continuing to build our fantastic team will always remain a key priority for myself. As you know, last year, we were super excited and lucky to bring Franco Marancola, our Chief Scientific Officer, on board, one of the finest cancer research experts in the world, I would say. We just hired a fantastic new head of drug discovery. And as you know, I firmly believe the success of any company, more than anything, depends on the quality of talent you actually acquire to share into your mission and help you to get where we want to be. And so that will remain always a key priority for us.
Awesome. So cancer curing cancer, and a lot to come from Cynata in 2024. Thanks for joining us, Volker.
Thank you so much, Joe. Pleasure.